Hello everybody, welcome to episode 106 of Show Viewers. Today we'll be going over the Pilaf Saga of Dragon Ball. Now, you may be wondering, why is there a gap back there? Well, I'm usually not one to flex, but I recently acquired a collection of books that I have been waiting for so long, because one of the original anime that I watched after Attack on Titan, Death Note, and stuff like that was the original Dragon Ball series. And the original Dragon Ball series has consistently been one of my favorite anime of all time, because I love the adventure aspect of it, and it hasn't been met yet, at least in the regards to adventure. And I'm like, One Piece, but honestly, I like how concise Dragon Ball is, and yes, they're probably about equal in my standing. That's saying a lot about the original Dragon Ball, because I love One Piece, and original Dragon Ball is just so goated to me. But yeah, so without further ado, I finally acquired a full collection of the original Dragon Ball. Now there's a diorama there. I don't know really how I'm going to go about displaying this, because it's going to be kind of awkward on camera, but yeah, I don't know if you really see that there. It's got Goku running away from a car. But yeah, so first among these are the 3-in-1 collections. I did not get the Viz Bigs, because the Viz Bigs are actually censored. So I just wanted pure Dragon Ball. Yeah, here's first volume. You got Goku, Bulma, Oolong on the front. You got little Goku there in the back. Pilaf on the back. And this one you got the elusive Jackie Chun. And then you got the announcer. This one you have Baba, Shenlong, and Goku, and then you have Grandpa Gohan in the back. Then this one got the GOAT, King Piccolo, then you got Yajirobe and Goku on the side. And then you have this old dude, I don't remember he's King Piccolo's a little grunt, I believe. And then this one you got everyone on it, because it's the kind of the beginning point of the 2013 Kaiichi Budokai. Then you got Kami on the back when he was disguised as a human. Then on this one you have Piccolo, Kami, and Goku with Chi-Chi on the back. Now, I cannot literally describe how excited I was when I got these books. I've been wanting this collection for so long, because like I said, I love original Dragon Ball. And that's the thing, I always get flack because I don't like Z as much as I do original Dragon Ball, but I just feel like there's so much more whimsy. I love the whimsy of original Dragon Ball, and I love the story of it too. I love how few characters there were, so there could be more focus on each of the characters. Because now with Dragon Ball to this point, you got Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Goku, and Broly now, and that's all they really focus on. But in this one, each person had their own character development and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, so Pilaf Saga, it is the first 23 chapters of the original Dragon Ball manga, and I reread it recently, so I revisited it, because like I said, I'd only watched the anime prior, and so I was like, you know what, time to jump back into some phenomenal artistry and all of that, and just peak story. But yeah, so Pilaf Saga, it starts off with us getting introduced to Goku, who's a little kid who lives out in the woods in a little temple shed looking place. And he's just kind of subsisting off of land. He goes about fishing and stuff like that. And then he ultimately runs into Bulma. Now, Bulma is a genius 16-year-old girl who is searching for these elusive items known as the Dragon Balls. Now, the Dragon Balls, how they work is, once you collect all 7, you can be granted a wish on Earth. And the dragon that is summoned by this is called Shenlong or Shenron. They're referred to as both. But in the manga, it's referred to as Shenlong, so I'll just refer to him as that. But, yeah, so we see this, and ultimately, Bulma ends up saying that Goku, in fact, has one of the Dragon Balls. He has the 4-star ball, which was passed down to him by his grandpa Gohan, who is sadly now dead. And it's just kind of one of Goku's last mementos to Grandpa Gohan. He also does have the Nyoibu, I can't remember how you say it. It's Nyoibu. It's Power Pole. I'll just say Power Pole, since I'm not good at pronouncing it. But there's a word that can come out of that. I love pronouncing that. I will be saying in the Japanese version. But, yeah. Gosh, that sounds so daggum weeb-esque. I'll be saying it in the Japanese version, but I like saying it because of how they say it in the subbed version of the anime. But, yeah. So, after this, they go searching about. And ultimately, they end up going along, and they run into a turtle who is 120 kilometers from the sea. So they end up helping him along, and they run into this big bear general thing. And he ends up yo, how'd you know turtle meat was my favorite meat? And they ultimately Bulma ends up saying, yo, Goku beat him. Goku beats him. And then they ultimately end up taking the turtle all the way back to the sea, where he's yo, stay here, I'm gonna get you on a reward. So he comes back with a old guy on his back who is Muten Roshi. So Roshi, the master of essentially the strongest man on Earth at the moment. But yeah, so ultimately he ends up going to pull up Roshi, and Roshi's like, yo, I'll give you a gift since you saved my turtle, since he's the turtle hermit. And he ends up giving Goku Quinto-un. I love saying Quinto-un because I love every time in the original Dragon Ball where Goku goes, Quinto-un! I love that. But yeah, so Quinto-un is just a little like flying cloud, little nimbus thing. And ultimately, Bulma's like, yo, I helped out too, why can't I get a reward? So Roshi's like, show me your stuff, and I'll give you an award. I hate this stuff, but like, it is what it is. And we see as she ends up displaying her goods to Roshi to acquire a Dragon Ball. He's like, because afterwards he's like, oh man, I don't even know what awards I got. She's like, yo, I want that necklace you got because he had a Dragon Ball on his necklace. And so she ends up taking that Dragon Ball, and they head back. Now, one of the running gag that is so stupid, but I find so goofy every time he does it, is Goku checking the genders of people. Because he's never been exposed to anyone besides Grandpa Gohan. So he can't tell the difference between a man and a woman. So he just walks up, pats them on their jaw, and see if they're man or woman. And, I don't know, it's just a stupid gag, but it's still goofy to this day. And, yeah, so they ultimately end up progressing along, and ultimately they run into a village. And this village is obviously like cowed down. Like, they attack Goku the moment he comes in because they think he's Oolong. Well, spoiler character name. But they're kind of haunted by this beast who's been taking their young daughters to like his hideaway and doing who knows what with them. And ultimately they are like, yo, we'll help you get rid of this dude if you give us your Dragon Ball. Because that's how Bulma and Goku ended up there, because there was a Dragon Ball on the Dragon Radar, which is a device used to track down Dragon Balls. I should have mentioned that earlier on. But yeah. So they ultimately end up coming here because of the Dragon Radar's indicator, and there they help the people to fight back this elusive beast. And once they're chilling here, they see as... Well, I don't know what... Hold on, let's see what form Oolong was in at first. I can't remember exactly what he was in. Oh, yeah, it was a demon. It was a demon form. And he comes in this demon form, and... well, actually, what they did first was because there was this dad whose daughter was meant to be taken away by Oolong pretty soon, so they had Goku disguised as him, and this big old demon, hulking demon comes in, and he's like, yo, I'm ready to take my wife. And then it seems that Goku is kind of cowering in fear, and ultimately he ends up transforming down into a normal man, so we see this dude is a shapeshifter. And ultimately Goku blows his case by walking over and urinating on a tree, and Oolong's like, wait, that isn't the girl I came to pick up! And so they kind of start fighting and all that, and ultimately Oolong escapes. He runs out the building, but this is because his 5-minute timer was almost up, because I'm just going to say this dude's name is Oolong, and he becomes a pretty important character throughout Dragon Ball, especially in this saga. But yeah, so Oolong ends up, kind of running off a little bit, and then he runs off because his 5-minute timer, because he can only transform for 5 minutes, and he has a cooldown of 1 minute afterwards. So he runs out, and then Goku runs out after him, and he's this little pig thing sitting there, and he's like, yo, where did that big beast go? Because he was in a bowl, and he's like, oh, he went that way. Then he comes back, and he's like, he must have flew off or something. But then Oolong transforms again, they ultimately end up fighting, and Goku ends up beating him, so he tries to escape, and Goku follows him around. Ultimately, he ends up getting him, and then gets Oolong to lead them to where the girls are, which they go over there, and they see that they're living a lavish lifestyle. They're living the dream. So Oolong really didn't do anything bad to him besides kidnapping him. But Oolong is once again another very perverted character in the Dragon Ball series, and we see this throughout. And literally the first instance of him, Goku, and Bulma traveling is him turning into a fish, jumping into water, and then Bulma using her panties to lure him in and re-catch him. But yeah, so they're traveling along during this, and they get to a desert, but they've lost their Hoi Poi capsules. Now, Hoi Poi capsules are little capsules that you throw down, they can turn to anything. Like, it defies every, like, concept of, like, nature, like, the law of conservation of mass and stuff like that, but I don't know if that's ever explained, but yeah, they just throw them, it's a fiction, I don't really care. Throw them down, and they spawn stuff like cars, houses, like water, gas tanks, stuff like that. But yeah, so they lost their Hoi Poi capsule, so they're kind of stuck and stranded in the desert, and during this time they get assuaged by, well, not assuaged, but like, ambushed by these bandits by the name of Puar and Yamcha. Now, I'm so glad one of my ghosts is finally on screen. I love Yamcha. Yamcha and Tien are probably two of my favorite characters in all Dragon Ball. Like, when I used to play Spark and Zero a lot, I mained Tien, because I love Tien. Tien is my goat, for real. And I mained Yamcha as well. Like, if I had multiple characters to pick from, I would play Yamcha and Tien, because I love those characters. And I was going to let their weakness deter me from playing as them. But yeah, so we see this, and ultimately they try and they kind of find around him, but Goku was ultimately kind of beaten at the end because he was hungry, because he didn't have any food. And when Goku is not hungry, he can't fight as well. But yeah, so after this, we see as Yamcha accidentally runs into Bulma and skedaddles off, because Yamcha has a perpetual fear of girls. So ultimately, they end up getting away, and Oolong reveals that he has one Hoi Poi capsule, which is like a RV, which they set down for the night, and they prepare to go along. Now, crap, what happened? At one point, Bulma's clothes got ruined somehow, so she was booty-eyed naked and had to, like, shower. No, it was because she had to shower and Oolong didn't clean her clothes. So, and he didn't have a change of pajamas. So she had to go, and they ultimately end up swapping resting points. We see as Goku and Oolong sit on the bottom floor, and Bulma sits up top. Now, during this, we see as Oolong's perverted, well, actually, no. What they try and do is they send in Puar and Yamcha are planning to, like, conk them out and steal their stuff. And so we ultimately see as Oolong is trying to sneak in on Bulma. So he's on the second floor, so they only get Goku with the sleeping gas. No, okay, Oolong, what he did was he got, like, sleeping potion and gave it to Bulma and Goku. So he's the only one awake, and Puar and Yamcha are planning on ambushing them during the night. So we see as Oolong goes up and tries to finagle Bulma, which ultimately leads to Puar coming up there disguised as Goku because they captured Goku, and they go up there and have a brief conversation like, "Yo, let's go walk out and talk about this." So they end up going downstairs and leaving, and ultimately they end up changing into each other. Really, they tricked each other. And Yamcha went upstairs, ended up seeing Bulma, and freaked out about died because he saw that part of those portions of a woman, and he's already scared of women to begin with. Yeah. So, ultimately, this ends up kind of ending with Puar and Yamcha still pursuing Bulma, Goku, and Oolong to acquire the Dragon Balls, but they're not, like, actively in pursuit. They're just kind of sneaking around. And, so then we see as, they start traveling, and Goku and Bulma realize that their next destination is, the Mount Frypan. And Mount Frypan is on fire because a fire spirit fell from the heavens and lit it on fire eternally with an immense blaze. And now this used to be the home of the infamous Ox King, who was a student of Roshi, and he was actually a student alongside Gohan, even though he was slightly less strong, he was slightly weaker than Gohan. And so we see as he's kind of lost his home, he's kind of rampaging about. He is known to be notorious for stealing and pillaging and plundering and all of that. But yeah, so we see ultimately as they end up pulling up here, and they run into the Ox King. The Ox King's like, "Yo, can we put out this fire? Can you put out the fire on my home? And if you will, I'll let you have the Dragon Ball and all of that." So they ultimately end up talking, and they're like, "Yeah, the only thing to put out this fire is the Bansho fan. Oh, it's the Banshin something or another. I know it's referred to as the Bansho fan most of the time, but crap. Let's leave it down. Also, Yamcha and Puar end up running into. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention how Goku ended up fighting Yamcha when it was daytime, and he ended up winning, but that wasn't really super important. He just kind of knocked out one of Yamcha's tooth, which becomes a consistent actual physical characteristic throughout the whole thing of Dragon Ball, which is really cool. But yeah, so they end up going to get the Bansho fan, or the Bansho Sin. No, the Basho Sin. And yeah, so they go up and acquiring this, and Chi-Chi is introduced. Chi-Chi is the Ox King's daughter, and she ends up running into Yamcha and Puar, where she's knocked out by them, and they skedaddle off because she was a dangerous little kid. They see her kill a dinosaur, and she tried to attack them, so they end up putting her lights out. But yeah, so ultimately they see as Goku is tasked with going to find the Ox King's daughter, and then go and find the Bansho fan. So they ultimately end up doing this, and he ends up going and finding Chi-Chi and then taking her to Roshi's house, because Roshi is known to have the Bansho fan. Once they get there, they realize that the Bansho fan's been thrown out because Roshi was using it as a pot holder. And so, ultimately, Roshi's like, "You know what, I'll go over there and put it out myself, because I can do that." So they see as Roshi ends up going there, but he only goes there on one pretense. He wants to go there if he can finagle Bulma, as per usual. And so, you see he goes there, and he puts out the fire with a Kamehameha, which is a move. They actually make a reference to the Hawaiian king that it's named after in the manga. And it's just an energy blast move, pretty simplistic. Everyone knows what a Kamehameha is. Yeah, so he uses to put out the fire, and Goku's like, "Yo, can I learn that?" And Roshi's like, "No, you need 50 years of training." Then Goku promptly proceeds to blast Kamehameha at the car nearby. They're like, "Argh!" But yeah. So ultimately we see as Chi-Chi and Goku have some not really character building, but like relation building, because Goku's kind of oblivious, but Chi-Chi's like, "Oh yes, I want to marry you now because you patted my groin," because Goku had to figure out what gender she was. And so This ultimately progresses along. They're traveling, and we see as what is it? We see as Shu, which is one of Pilaf's little grunts, ultimately ends up like attacking the group there, and after no. Oh no! I forgot about the whole point. I forgot about the rabbit mob saga. But as they're traveling to the next Dragon Ball, they run into a town where Bulma is renowned throughout and feared, and everything's given to her for free because she has a bunny suit on, because she had a Playboy bunny costume on, because that's all Oolong had in his car after they got her clothes back to her. But yeah, so ultimately she's like renowned throughout all this, and everyone's giving her free stuff, but ultimately she ends up changing clothes, and they realize that she's not a part of the rabbit mob or the bunny mob, and they end up getting mad at her. But then the rabbit mob actually comes into town, Goku fights them, and they're like, we're gonna go get our master. So they go and they get the carrot master himself. And during this, we see as they actually turn Bulma into a carrot at one point, and Yamcha and Puar kind of come out to help with the rabbit mob and all of that. And so we see as Goku ultimately ends up beating the carrot master, and this leads to them just not really doing much, but this is how Yamcha and Puar join the team. But they're all traveling together again, and they are ultimately attacked by Shu, which is one of Pilaf's little grunts. They have Shu and Mai, who are the predominant Pilaf grunts. I think the only Pilaf grunts, because for Pilaf to be the emperor of the world, or whatever he calls himself, he never really has any minions to his name. But yeah, so they ultimately end up attacking them and taking the Dragon Balls, as we see. Then Shu takes him back to Pilaf, and we are introduced to Mai as well, because Mai was the one who scouted him out, but we don't actually get much introduction to Mai until they actually interact with Pilaf and Shu. And so we see this, they take him back, and then the Dragon Ball team, the Dragon team, end up going to, oh my gosh, Pilaf's little abode castle thing, and here they're ultimately captured and locked in. And they had to do this because, the Pilaf gang had to trap him because Goku still had his four-star ball on him. So they put some sleeping gas in there, run in, take the ball, and they head out, and they summon Shenlong for the first time. Now, this scene is sick because Shenlong is such a cool dragon. I love seeing it every single time he is summoned. It never gets old. Yeah, so they summon him in, and they're preparing to take a wish. And during this, Goku uses the Kamehameha to blast a minute hole through the wall. And this is small enough for Puar and Oolong to turn into bats and fly through. And during this, they see as the dragon is speaking about the regulations and rules of the wish. And during this, Oolong realizes, he's talking to me too. So Oolong gets up, wishes for a pair of panties, and ruins Pilaf's plan. Now, in this, Pilaf and gang are like, you ruined our plan, so we're going to trap you in this cooking room. So they trap him in this glass room to where they'll cook in the desert heat. And during this, they're trying to figure out a way to get out, and it's still nighttime. And Goku gets talking about how, it's a full moon, this isn't good. And they're like, why is it not? And he's describing how he's not supposed to look at a full moon because a monster will come out. They're kind of laughing at him about all that stuff. And he's like, no, really, a monster came out of the full moon and killed my granddad one night when I was out peeing. And they asked him, did you look up at the moon that night? And he was like, yeah, I looked up on the moon on accident, but I can't remember what happened after that. And so we learned that Goku, in fact, stomped on Grandpa Gohan when he got turned into some monster and killed him. But after this, they're like, you probably shouldn't look at the moon then. But then they're like, wait, this might help us get out of this room. So Goku looks up at the moon, and everything seems fine for a second. Then he starts to transform into his, what we now know as a Uzaru form, but his big gorilla ape form. And this transformation is really cool. It's just we get to see such large beasts pretty quick succession after seeing Shenlong. But yeah, hold up, let's see. You got the transformation there. And then you got him turning into big boy ape himself, crushing the Pilaf Palace. But yeah, after this, we see as he just kind of rampages about Pilaf and he tried to escape, but they're ultimately knocked out of the sky in their plane, which is probably a reference to King Kong. I don't know if it was, but yeah. So we see this, and they travel along, and, they don't travel along, but Gang ultimately figures out how to beat Goku, because prior to this, they'd seen as Chi-Chi had grabbed onto Goku's tail when she was trying to climb up on the Quinta-Un when they were going to go to find the Bancho fam. Yamcha and Puar were around when they saw this, so they know Goku's weakness. And so they get the bright idea to cut off Goku's tail, so they have Puar turn into a pair of scissors, cut off Goku's tail, and he de-transforms, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Goku wakes up the next day, and he's like, what happened? They don't really tell him because they don't want him to feel bad about killing Gohan or Grandpa Gohan. And so, ultimately, we see as Yamcha and Bulma start to kick it off because they realize that they both kind of fulfill each other's needs. And ultimately, Goku knows where he wants to go next because he's like, I want to go train with Roshi. And Oolong and Puar just kind of tag along with Bulma and Yamcha. So yeah, that's kind of where the Pilaf Saga ends. This saga was actually a lot better in the manga than I remember it being in the anime, because I remember it being really slow in the anime. But honestly, I loved it in the manga. It was great. But yeah, that's how there really is for the Pilaf Saga. I mean, all I really have for episode 106 is show for you, because I've already shown off my books and went over a great arc. But yeah, like I said, that's all I really have to say, so thank you very much for watching.